Massive seagoing automobile ferries, vital transportation links used by millions around the world. But an alarming number of them have sunk in recent years, taking thousands of people to the bottom of the sea. This British ferry suddenly capsized after leaving Belgium, killing dozens. It's not an isolated incident. 44 ferries sank between 1980 and 1995, killing more than 6,000 people. A death rate per passenger mile much higher than air or rail transport. And one tragedy in particular causes the world to notice. Divers break a window to enter the sunken wreckage of the Swedish ferry Estonia. They're looking for clues to explain why it capsized and sank in seconds, drowning more than 900 people. 136 people survived, plucked from the frigid waters of the Baltic Sea. This is what investigators know. On an autumn afternoon in Tallinn, the capital city of Estonia, hundreds of passengers drive onto the car deck of the Estonia, the same way they're boarding her sister ship, the Mare Balticum, seen here.
Just go down there, there's the chief officer down there. Right. And they park over on the way. Right. Okay.
Passengers leave their vehicles below and go to the upper decks, where they can shop, dine, and sleep in private cabins during the 15-hour trip to Stockholm, Sweden. Among them is Swede Anders Eriksson, who is on his way home to Stockholm with a friend after a sightseeing trip to Tallinn.
They told us when the ferry departed from Tallinn that there was going to be a storm that night.
Unconcerned, they visit the ship's bridge, eat a leisurely dinner, and then retire to their cabins. But Eriksson can't sleep. Large waves pound the boat.
And around about midnight, there was two very heavy knocks from the front, and I was nearly falling out of my bed.
The ferry begins to tilt as Eriksson hurriedly dresses and rushes from his cabin to investigate.
The boat started to go aside, and it didn't stop.
The engine room reports that water is streaming in from the car deck. The captain urgently sends out a mayday.
Mayday. This is Estonia.
We have a problem here. Very bad listing on the right side.
Panicked passengers try to fight their way out of their rooms deep inside the vessel. Eriksson is one of the few who makes it outside onto the open deck.
The wall became my floor now. The water came more near. I didn't have anything else to do than to jump into the water.
It all happens so fast, there is no time to lower life rafts. The fortunate ones plunge into the frigid, turbulent sea. Hundreds of others can only watch in horror from inside the ship as the sea swallows them. The Estonia sinks 200 feet to the sea floor and comes to rest upside down. Eriksson swims to find one of the Estonia's inflatable life rafts, but it is upside down and too large to turn over. He can only cling to its sides.
I can feel my toes, I can feel my fingers, and I'm alive. And someone must come and help us.
He rides the enormous waves for 6 hours until the break of day, when rescue helicopters find him. Against all odds, Anders Eriksson has survived. As for his friend,
he's not found. He's still down there, I think. He's dead.
the Estonia becomes the worst in a long line of ferry disasters. Investigators want to examine the ferry's 56-ton loading door, which they suspect may be the key to understanding what went wrong. Called a bow visor, it lifts up to allow the loading of vehicles. It has 3 locking devices, 2 at the sides and 1 at the bottom. Experts theorize that as the Estonia forged through heavy seas, the buffeting of the waves caused the door locks to fail. Their suspicions are proven correct when divers locate the bow visor a mile away from the wreck. It had broken completely off.
Everything's just been ripped out completely. It's ripped the weld, there's no plate there at all.
But the failure of the bow visor, which salvagers winch off the seafloor, is only a partial explanation. The other unanswered question is, why did the ferry capsize so quickly? The answer may come from model simulations conducted by Dr. Ian Winkle, a naval architect at the University of Glasgow.
Notice the rapid build-up of floodwater, which leads to rapid heel, resulting in capsize, the ultimate stable condition, upside down.
Winkle and the others say that as water flowed freely across the open car deck, it surged to one side, causing the ferry to heel over, turn upside down, and quickly sink to the seabed. Experts believe that the combination of the faulty lock and the open car deck are the two factors that triggered the catastrophic capsizing of the ferry. This finding prompts governmental action. Within 2 years of the accident, Northern European nations adopt the Stockholm Agreement. This calls for the retrofitting of ferries with flood control partitions on the car decks. And as a result of the Estonia tragedy, closer monitoring of the bow visor locks becomes a universal practice. But until all countries adopt the agreement, industry critics fear more ferries will be lost at sea. Still, for the relatives of those who died aboard the Estonia, there is some small solace in knowing that their deaths led to a new beginning in ferry passenger safety around the world.